What do you do if you want to start a nonprofit, but you don't have any startup money to get it launched? That's what I'll talk about in this video. Welcome back. My name is Amber Melanie Smith, and I am a nonprofit founder and executive director who makes these videos here on YouTube to help people who want to make a social impact, whether that's through starting a nonprofit or a social enterprise or a socially conscious business and more. As always, I hope that you find this video helpful and useful to you in your social impact journey, whatever step you might be on in that journey. And don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more content all about these topics. I also have a website, foundertofulltime.com, where people looking to start a nonprofit can find some online courses that will help you work through the steps to get it going and develop a sustainable fundraising plan. I want to preface this video by just saying that just like starting a business, starting a nonprofit is going to require some amount of startup funding. Even if you can get a lot of items or services that your nonprofit might need donated, there are some of those costs that you just can't avoid paying for. Things like, for example, the filing fees to your government to make your nonprofit an official legal entity. But if you are starting with zero funds, that doesn't mean that you can't start a nonprofit. It just means that you're going to have a couple of other extra steps between you and making it an official nonprofit organization. Okay, so let's jump in. The first phase that I will talk to you about regarding starting a nonprofit is a phase that you need to take whether you have startup funds or you don't have startup funds. And that is to start by doing your research. You really need to understand the community or social issue that you plan to tackle through your nonprofit and be kind of an expert on the topic before you even get started. You need to be able to understand why your organization is needed and make the case for its existence and for people supporting it right out the gate. So to do this, you want to really understand the needs of the people or population that you're planning to serve. Surveying them is a great way to understand their needs by simply asking them, what do you need? What needs are not yet being met by you? All of this research is going to go into later making your case and fundraising and developing things like your mission statement and marketing materials for your organization. So it's a really good idea for you to have a sense of how you're going to talk about your organization, the talking points, if you will, at the very beginning. A second thing that I recommend you do before anything else is to start considering who might be on your founding board of directors. You're going to need to assemble a board of directors in order to become an official, legally recognized nonprofit organization anyway. So there's some value in thinking about what are the talents and the skills and the people who are connected to different entities in the community. Who are these people? And is there an opportunity for you to get them into your organization now so that they can be helping with the other startup tasks that you're going to need to be doing? Okay, so you've done your research, you feel like you can make the case for the need for your organization. You've started to think through who might be on your founding board of directors and possibly even recruited some of those individuals early on. The next step is you're going to need to get some of the money in the door now so that you can pay for those must-have expenses that you just can't get donated, like the legal fees to pay for the filing process for your nonprofit, or even website hosting and basic website costs, or possibly even liability insurance, depending on what your mission is. So in this phase, we'll call it the raising money phase, your first step is to develop a bare bones budget. What is the minimum amount of money you absolutely must raise before you can pay for some of those expenses that you just can't get donated? So do this how you want. You can make a spreadsheet, a document, use a budget template, but you're going to want to make a list of all of those expenses that you're anticipating and then research the costs of each of those things. So if it's filing for your organization to be incorporated in your state, what are those filing fees for your state? And then the filing fees for the federal government. And then if you need liability insurance because your organization's early work is going to include something that will possibly entail some kind of liability, physical or otherwise. I'm talking about things like working with vulnerable populations or working with equipment or machinery that could be hazardous or dangerous, or working with volunteers. If anything happens with any of those items, you might be liable. So protecting yourself on a basic level through that kind of insurance could help you with that. And then you really do need a website, some kind of presence that can attract people and explain your mission. So those basic website hosting costs, it doesn't have to be a very fancy website. I encourage you, if you have the inclination and basic skills, to even try to create your own to save on the costs of web design, just to get something up there at this very early stage. So you're putting together this budget and it's just the basics. At this stage, it really shouldn't cost more than a couple $1,000s between all of the things that I just listed. Obviously, it will vary based on your specific situation and mission, but that is a pretty good ballpark estimate, no more than a couple $1,000s. Now, it's important to know, of course, you're going to need to raise money for other things in the future, but the goal right now is not to worry about that. The goal right now is to raise just enough to get your official nonprofit paperwork into the government's hands so that they can make you an official tax-exempt nonprofit. Now you've got your budget, you know the dollar amount that you are aspiring to raise. Let's say it's $3,000. This is going to help motivate the people around you to help contribute to this fund to get things going. So step 2 in this fundraising phase is to develop your fundraising strategy. And there are 2 things you really want to do as part of this step. The first is to identify what is the audience in your community that is most likely to want to support your specific cause or mission. Does your mission relate to businesses or entrepreneurs? Perhaps then the business community might be a good donor pool for you. Perhaps your mission will help or serve kids or families. Then parents or families could be a good potential donor population for you. Maybe you're doing an animal rescue or a group that's helping animals. Someone with pets who can empathize with a love of animals might be a good donor population for you. So who's your target audience as donors? And the second part of this is you want to get a sense of how many donations from how many people you need to collect in order to reach the goal amount that you set through your budget. One way that you can do this is by using a tool called a gift range chart, and I'll show the picture of what that might look like here. But it's basically a chart saying that you need to raise a certain number of donations at certain levels. So let's say you need 10 donors who will give $10 each, so that you can raise $100. Or 10 donors at $50 each to raise $500. So basically just determining what are the different levels and how many people need to give at that level for you to reach the total goal of, for example, the 3,000 I said before. The purpose of a gift range chart is twofold. One, it will give you and possibly your other team members, if you have a pre-assembled board or team of people helping you out, it will give you a sense of the number of donations you need to get, which can be very motivating and help you be very goal-oriented. The second thing is it's psychologically motivating for donors. If I see that you just need one more donor to give you $50 and then you'll reach your goal there, that's exciting. I want to be that donor. I want to meet that need for you. It's like when you have a coffee punch card and you have just like one more coffee to go before you can get a free coffee. You really want to get that last coffee. It's the same kind of psychology. So this gift range chart will help you develop the rest of your fundraising strategy and help you go out there and talk to people and let them know what you need and make your ask later on in this phase. The third thing you want to do as you're developing your fundraising strategy is develop your fundraising message. Basically, what are your talking points? How are you explaining your organization to people you meet in the community who might want to donate? How are you inspiring them to want to give so that you can support those startup costs? So your compelling fundraising message is going to include possibly a couple of different components. The first is sort of your case for support. It's like a proof of concept. Maybe you have a new organization and it hasn't done anything yet, so you can't show the past evidence of how it's working. What you can do, however, is show how similar models or similar programs maybe in other regions have been very effective, and by bringing it here to your community, you can bring this effective model here too and help people here. So all that research you did in the very beginning of this process should really come in handy here, because you should be armed with statistics. Something like, did you know that 1 in 4 teens say they experience depression or anxiety? And let's say you're doing a youth mental health organization. That number can really help people in the community understand the need for your organization and why it's important that they donate to help you with your startup costs. As part of your fundraising message, I also always recommend that you include a little bit about yourself personally. Why do you want to start this organization? Why are you the best fit or a good leader to start this organization? Is there something about your experiences that drives you to do this work? Also, people are more likely to donate when they feel like they know you and trust you. So opening up a little bit, sharing more of your personal story can help build that trust and credibility, which will inspire donations. Okay, so at this point, you've got your fundraising goal, you've got a sense of the number of donations you need at each level in your gift range chart. You've got your fundraising message. Now it's time to go out there into the community and start building up a little bit of an audience so that those people can donate to your startup costs. There's a lot of ways you can do this. Networking events is a great way. Social media, telling the stories and sharing your goals there with a link where people can contribute, another great way. Starting with the people you know in your circles. If someone is not in a position to donate, perhaps they are willing to share your message on social media or amplify your cause in some other way. But the idea here is your social connections are going to be the best way for you to get some of these initial donations and that target audience that we talked about before. Let's say your target audience is pet owners, right? So where are the pet owner groups in your community? Is there a dog walking meetup that you might check out and join and share more about your cause? Is there an association of veterinarians? Where are all the people who might be connected personally to your cause somehow? You want to go to where they are and share your message with them. At this point, you've got your goals, your fundraising message, you've started to do some outreach to build up your audience. Now it's time to make the ask. It's simple. You make your case, you share a story of someone who might be impacted, you share your story, you share the statistics based on the research you did early on in this process, and you say, if we want to make this organization a reality, I need to raise X, $3,000, for example. If I can get 30 of you to donate $100, hopefully I did that math right, we will reach our goal. That's just 30 people. Don't you want to be number 29 and number 30 in that list? Yes, you do. Donate here. One thing that's really important to do at this phase where you're actually making the ask for money is to be very transparent that you do not have your official legal nonprofit status yet. You can start to collect donations before you get your status, but you do have to be honest and transparent that when people donate, it's not going to be tax deductible unless they donate after you're at least incorporated in your state. And then once you get your federal tax exemption, it would be retroactively tax exempt. But just make sure that you're being transparent. Make sure that you're checking your nonprofit laws around collecting money personally for a cause. There is a possible risk of the government thinking that that is your personal income and trying to tax you on it. So just educate yourself on those rules and be honest and transparent, and you can collect money to do your startup costs before you have your legal status. Important final step of fundraising phase. Thank your donors. Shower them with gratitude. These are your first donors, your first supporters. It takes a lot of faith and just graciousness to support at an early phase. So make sure that you have their contact information, that you're sending them thank you notes, that you're keeping them up to date on the progress of getting started. They want to go on the journey with you. So make sure that you are staying in touch with them also. All right, so you started in phase 1 doing your research and assembling or thinking about who might be on your initial board of directors. In phase 2, that was the big step that you've got to do if you're starting a nonprofit with no money, and that is raise some money. So at this point, you've got just enough money to get your startup costs in order. Now it's time to do phase 3, the actual legal steps of starting a nonprofit. Step 1 of this phase is, if you didn't already assemble a board of directors, at this stage you do need to do so, because filing your paperwork is going to require you to have a board of directors. How many board members you need will vary by state or region, so be sure to look up the rules for your area. In terms of thinking through who to recruit for your board, like I said before, you want to think through who's going to have the right skills to get you started. So if you need someone with fundraising experience, try to find that. Someone with marketing experience to get the word out. Some marketing professional might be a good board member. I have lots of other videos on recruiting boards and board of directors, so be sure to check those out too. The next step is you've got to have a name for your organization. And it's possible that earlier on in this experience, you already came up with a name. If so, awesome. You do need to make sure that that name is not already taken by any similar entities in your area. So make sure you do a name check with your Secretary of State or applicable authority in your region to make sure that you're not duplicating the name of an existing entity. Next, you've got to write your bylaws. The bylaws are basically a governing document. It's going to lay out all of the rules for how you're going to elect your board members and officers and govern the organization, develop policies, what % of your board needs to vote for something to pass, stuff like that. You should be writing these with your newly assembled board of directors so that everyone's on the same page. That will save you some headache later. Then you want to have your first board meeting. At this first board meeting, there are many things you could talk about, like the strategy for the next year or so, or your fundraising goals after this. But the main thing you want to focus on is officially voting in your bylaws and recording that vote in your organization's first meeting minutes. In the United States, the IRS does require you to keep board meeting minutes. In case of an audit, they will look for your board meeting minutes. So make sure that you are recording at the very minimum the vote and who voted and how many voted and did the vote pass, all that stuff. Once you've got your official bylaws voted in, you can start to file some of your formal paperwork. In the United States, this will most likely start with getting incorporated as a nonprofit in your state. So you're going to need to fill out your articles of incorporation. There are some great templates online or official forms for your government online. Once you get incorporated in your state, you're not done yet. You are not an official tax-exempt nonprofit yet. Then you have to file for your federal tax-exempt status. Most people are filing, when they start a nonprofit, they're aiming for the 501c3 tax-exempt status, which is the most common status for public charities. There are other tax codes too that you can look up to see if they fit your organization and its mission and structure better, but that is the most common one. So you're going to fill out that paperwork. You can do it without a lawyer, but many choose to hire a lawyer or use some kind of legal service just for peace of mind, because the IRS can and sometimes does reject applications for nonprofit status. All right, that's it. It's basically like the process for starting a nonprofit when you do have startup funds, except you've just got to fundraise. And I hope that the roadmap I kind of talked through helps you think through how would you start to build an audience, just get those first donors in the door so that you can raise just enough to get that tax-exempt status, or more if you're lucky. I'd love to hear what you think. If you are someone who started a nonprofit starting with $0 to apply to your launch, tell your story in the comments below. Share how you did it, any tips for the folks watching here today. I know we'd love to hear from you. As I mentioned before, if you are in the process of starting a nonprofit or developing a long-term sustainable fundraising plan, check out my online courses and resources at my website, foundertofulltime.com. I also have a fun little newsletter that I do regularly, sending out resources and tips and sometimes funding opportunities for folks on my mailing list who want to make a difference in some form or fashion, you can subscribe to that newsletter at the link below and opt out anytime you need. Finally, I do have a group on Facebook called Change the World or Bust. We've got 4,000 people from around the world in there now who are all in there sharing how they're making a difference and helping encourage and provide feedback to others too. So come on out and join us. Change the World or Bust is that name of the group. That's all I have for you today. Once again, I hope that you found this useful and helpful. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you next time.